SHIRRED YouTube channel. Today's class will be learning how to make this beautiful smoked elastic collar. Okay, you can see how stretchy and comfortable this collar is. We're going to be learning how to make this and attach to our blouse. It's a very simple tutorial and it's beginner friendly. This is something you would like to learn. Kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Okay, so to create this smoky design, I have my basic blouse already. I'm adding this to the neckline of the blouse. So I have my blouse here already, and I'm going to be working with this thread. It's called smoky thread. It's elastic in nature, as you can see. It's stretchy, and that is basically all you need. So now the first thing I'm going to do now is to measure around my neckline, because that's what I'm adding this design to. So from my center back here, I'm going to take my tape now, and then I'm going to take it around the neckline to have an idea of the measurement that I'm working with. And after measuring this, I have around 22.5, including seam allowance. So you can just let your smoke part get to your zipper allowance, or you can stop the smoking and then you leave some space so that you have something straight for your zipper. It's totally up to you and what you want. So for this, I don't think I'm going to let the zipper even get to the upper part of the neckline, so I can just add maybe buttons, or just feel free to use whatever you want. So after getting that measurement, the measurement that I have here is around 21 inches or so. So let me just measure this to be sure. Sorry, so I have 22.5 with zipper allowance. So now, because you are going to be smoking this is very similar to like gathering it, and we're going to be smoking just the collar part of it. So I have my leftover fabric here, so I have 22.5. You can actually multiply that 22.5 by 2. Okay, so when you multiply this by 2, you have something around 50 inches, but I'm just going to exhaust what I have here. So my current fabric is just 45 inches, so that is what I'm going to use. So I have a length of 45 inches. The next thing now is to measure the length of my collar. So depending on how wide you want this collar to be as well, from 4 inches, 5 inches, or 6 inches thereabouts, it's up to you. But because you're smoking this, it has a tendency to also shrink it, so you should be mindful of that. But for my collar, I'm going to be measuring around 6 inches, because I'm still going to hem it inwards on the one that is going to be on the upper part. So by the time I hem it, I'm going to be left with around 5 inches, which is fine for me. So it's totally up to you and what you want by the time you are done. So I'm just going to fold my fabric now and measure out the 6 inches, and then I'm going to cut it out. So I'll have a fabric of 6 inches by 45 inches. But like I said, you can also use double of what you're working with. That's multiplying your neck measurement by 2. But for the purpose of this tutorial, my fabric is just 45 inches length, so I'm just working with it like that. So now I'm measuring 6 inches. Now I have 6 inches, so I'm going to cut out the 6 inches. Then we'll go over to the sewing machine to smoke it. So after cutting it out, this is what I have. So the first thing, before I change my thread, I'm going to use my regular thread to hem it inward. So I'm just going to fold it twice like this, and then hem it like I'll hem my regular fabric. So after that, now I'm going to bring in my smoky thread. Then you're going to bring your empty bobbin. Then with your hand, you're going to roll this. You are going to wrap this around the bobbin. So when you are wrapping this, remember I said it's elastic, so make sure you don't stretch it. So you just hold it like this, use your finger to start it, and then you start wrapping it around it like this, start rolling it. You can see that I'm leaving it to follow its own course. You don't stretch it like this. If you stretch it, it's not going to give you what you want. So make sure you're not stretching it. Just keep wrapping it around it like this. You roll it with your hand, you wrap it around like I am doing. Don't stretch it. So now I'll continue wrapping this till I have it full. So once it's full, now I'll take it to my sewing machine, and then we'll start to sew this. Okay, so we're on the machine now, and I've gone ahead to hem the upper part. You can see that it is neatly finished. Now we just have this lower part that we're going to be sewing to the neckline. So the next thing you're going to do now is to remove your bobbin case, bring out your bobbin, and I'm going to set this regular thread aside and then bring in my smoky thread. So this is my smoky thread. Now I will take it inside and then bring it out from here, and then I'll see that it's free. If it's not too free, you can use your screwdriver to just loosen these bolts a bit so that it can come out easily, because you don't want it to be dragging too much. So once it's free, you put it back and then you bring it out from here. So after bringing it out from here, I'm going to set my machine. This particular machine, I'm going to put it on gather stitch. That's 5 for my machine. So now I've set it to it, and now I'll start to sew. So once I'm sewing it, now you have your regular thread. You can see I still have my normal thread on top. Okay, I just changed the lower thread to the smoky thread. So now that I have this, I'm going to place my fabric. This is the right side of my fabric and this is the wrong side of my fabric. So now the regular thread, I'm going to be using it to sew the right side of the fabric, while the smoky thread is what is going to show on the wrong side of the fabric. So now you can decide to place it maybe half an inch interval or 1 inch. So how close together your sewing are is dependent on how gathered is going to come out by the time you are through. So now I'll start from here now, and then I'll start to sew it. So make sure that your hand is as straight as possible. If you feel your hand is not going to be straight, you can just rule a line. So you can see how this is sewing now. So you can see how it's gathering. So you can see the stretchiness that with just one single line, you can see that it's already gathering. So you can see how it's becoming stretchy. So now I'm going to continue to sew it, and then I'll maintain my straight line. So you see what this is doing to us. You can see how it is gathering it. So now I'll sew it completely. So that's how you continue sewing them line by line. So I'm almost through with the first line now. So after sewing the first line, I'll backstitch it and go over. So like I was saying, if you don't want your gathers to get to your seam allowance, so once you get here, you just leave 1 inch and lock it. But for me, I'm just going to sew it all around. So I'm just sewing everything. Then I'm going to lock this now and then bring it out and cut. So again, I'm going to go back and move to the next line. So this is my first sewing now. I'll just eyeball half an inch space interval again. I'm going to place it under my machine. So now you can see that our fabric is gathered now. So you assist your fabric by stretching it out so that I'm not going to be sewing on that gathered part. So now that we have some gatherings, I'm just going to use my other finger to stretch it out so that I can sew very close to my neckline. So you can see, so once you stretch it out, it's going to be straight. So you stretch it out, you assist it, and then you continue sewing. So that is how I'm going to sew everything till I completely cover all of this with my smoky thread. And once you cover it, you will notice that this fabric will no longer be 45 inches. It's going to reduce in size. It's going to be smaller. Your smoky thread now must have gathered it for you. With just 2 threads, you can see the gathering that we have here already. So now, so that this video will not be too long, I'm going to do the rest off camera and bring it back to show us what we have. Okay, so I've gathered it to the last one. So now when I spread it out, you can see my line. So I have around 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 seam lines. So I have about 0.75 inches to sew it back to my neckline. So now you can see that it's smaller. This is all I have now from my 45 inches length. So now I'm going to bring in my blouse, and then I'm going to pin it round. Okay, so I have my blouse now. So I'm just going to bring in my smoked fabric, and then I'm going to pin it around the neckline of my blouse. So you may pin it to the first one and then stretch it out if it's not going to take it, but I'm going to check to see if it's going to fit in. So I'm just pin it around the neckline like this, pin it around the neckline, and then you sew. So I'm pinning it, I'm taking it around to see if it's going to take it. Okay, so this is what I have. It's almost, so I'm just going to pin it here as well. Then you spread it out to see the strategic places you need to pin. So once you pin it at both ends, you stretch it out to see where it's going to meet. So now I'm just going to pin it and take it to the sewing machine now. So now I'm going to be sewing this with my regular thread. You can also use your smoky thread, but I advise to just use your regular thread so that it's going to be firm. So I will sew this with my regular thread now and then bring it back to shoulder. So this is the elastic part you can see on the lining on the wrong side of the fabric. So this is what the elastic is going to look like. So I'll go over to the machine and sew this and bring it back to shoulder. So now I'm on the machine, and like I said, I started sewing it, and I'm sewing with my regular thread. So now you just drag it a little bit, or you just spin it round, or I'm eyeballing this, but make sure you pin it so that you won't have some places being more than the other. So I'm just measuring them against each other to know where I'm going to sew. Okay, so now I'm just placing them against each other, and then I'm going to sew. So I placed it right side facing right side, and then I'm sewing it to my neckline. So I'm almost at the end point now. Okay, so I've gone ahead to sew it together. You just need to weave it on the neckline so that it's going to be neat, and this is what we'll have. So you can see how it's spreading. So the next thing is to fix your zipper to the back, and your your blouse is ready. So now I'll take this to the mannequin so that we can see what it looks like. Okay, so I've placed this now on the mannequin, and you can see what the collar looks like now. It is elastic and it's very, very comfortable. So this is what it looks like on the neckline, and this is what the full view of the blouse looks like. I hope you enjoyed making this beautiful tutorial with me. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.